ChathamNC.com, CoachBerry.com. But this is our outline for today's weekly Chatham NC Sports Roundup. We're going to talk about the Volley All-State teams, the high school soccer. Asheebo's going to touch on Jordan Matthews. They're the ones that went the longest in the tournament. Wrestling season started yesterday. We're actually Seaforth was playing, and then we'll talk about the power rankings. We did that last week. Thank you everyone for watching that, because we had almost 700 folks watch that, so that was double what we usually have. So thank you very much. Talk about which charter. I think there's also Asheebo's going to touch on some of the other things. Coach Berry's going to touch on some of the basketball as well. We're probably, if it's going to be okay with him and Asheebo, we may be bringing back Coach Berry throughout the basketball season, because he's kind of got his finger on the basketball scene. Then we're going to go over the papers coming out today, the Chatham News and Record, as to what articles Asheebo's got on there. I want to give you a heads up. Next week, the paper is coming out early. It's coming out on Tuesday, because next week is Thanksgiving week. And then, of course, Asheebo's Athlete of the Week, and we're going to find out where Asheebo's going this week and next week. So let me take down the graphics, and let's see if I can see all your smiling faces here. I don't want to. All right, apologies, guess the technical issue. I'm trying to hide that cover, and it should be off, but all right. Year, 8 Chatham County volleyball players make the All-State team, and that's put together by the North Carolina Volleyball Coaches Association. And on that, and of those 8, I'm going to read through the first 2A listings. In the first team, we've got Kira Rosenmarkel from Seaforth. She was on the first team. Allie Forbes was on the first team from Seaforth, and Maurice Honeycutt from Seaforth was on the first team. On the second 2A classification, we had Reagan Smith from Jordan Matthews High School. Asheebo, do you want to say anything about all 4 ladies? I know you've been watching that very closely, so do you want to give us a rundown of? I think they're all deserving to be up in there.
Yeah, those 3 for Seaforth there, Allie Forbes, Kara Rosenmarkel, Maurice Honeycutt, they were really the core of the Seaforth team that went pretty far in the playoffs here. And then I was looking at some stats, and I saw the release that Rosenmarkel, she led the entire 2A East classification with 365 kills, and then Forbes finished third on that list with 365. No, not. That was a different number, because I think Forbes had 365. I forgot what Rosenmarkel had, but Honeycutt also recorded the most assists in the 2A East classification with 864. And then for the 1A side there, Josie Valgas, she led the 1A East classification with 408 kills. So all 4 of those are very deserving of the first team. And my apologies in the paper to everyone reading it today. I did not see the second team when I was going through the list, so my apologies for not including the second team players on the All-State recognition. On Twitter, I have them listed as well when I post the stories on there.
Yeah, the second team for the 1A, we had Carolee Dotson from Chatham Central High School, had Maya Sheridan from Woods Charter School, and you had Catherine Gaines from Chatham Central High School. And I mean, those are all players that Asheebo, while the volleyball season was going on, I know you had mentioned all those players several times, because they had the highest impact on what the teams were doing.
Yes.
All right. Again, folks, the reason you're seeing the screen is because for some reason I can't drop it off, so you don't get to see our beautiful faces. Next up, as you can see, high school soccer. Jordan Matthews. They went the furthest in the state tournament. And Asheebo, what do you want to tell us about how Jordan Matthews did this year? And I think you talked to the coach on Friday after their last game.
Yeah, that's one of the stories we'll have in the paper this week. Just a recap of Jordan Matthews' season. Unfortunately, they lost in the fourth round on Thursday to Franklin Academy. They went to Franklin Academy, very good Franklin Academy team, lost 5-0. And on that one, it was on the turf field. I know I was talking to Coach Cardros and some of the players, and they had to get adjusted to the faster pace of playing on turf because the ball moves faster and things like that. So in that one, they kind of didn't take advantage of the opportunities they had on goal, according to Coach Quadros, and kind of just didn't play to their usual level defensively. They let some guys get behind them from Franklin Academy, and I think they were down 3-0 at halftime and gave up 2 more in the second half. But hats off to them on a great season, and they'll be losing a lot of key players like Giancarlo Aguilar, Jonathan Campos, but they will be returning Francisco Ibarra and some key players like Angelo Vera at goalkeeper that will really help them out next year as some of those younger guys come up from JV and from the bench and step up for them on the varsity team.
All right. Anything else on high school soccer?
No.
All right. Wrestling season, that is rolling in. I know yesterday their Seaforth hosted a couple wrestling matches. That goes, Asheebo.
Yeah, so Seaforth got off to a great start last night in their first meet that they hosted at home there. They beat Willow Springs 69-6 and beat Wakefield 47-34. So they start the season 2-0 for them. Also look out in a couple of weeks. I'm looking at doing a story on Kira Rosenmarkle from volleyball. She's down there with the wrestling team again this year. So excited to see what she can do.
Yeah. She's Ashton. I know her. I talked with her mom a few weeks ago because, again, her mom was one of the assistant coaches for volleyball, and she's saying that her daughter is being very competitive. But again, she's noticing as she's starting to compete against more experienced wrestlers that it's getting a little bit harder. So that's going to be an interesting story. Then, and you said that's going to be coming out in a couple of weeks. You said?
No. I was just saying look out for it. Yeah, I haven't acted on it yet.
Yeah, I've got a video out from last season when she took one guy down, and it's got bunches of views because she is very impressive when she goes up against her competition. So, folks, again, you'll be hearing more about wrestling in the next few weeks. Also, I talked with Asheebo before we started. There is not going to be a power rankings update this week. However, excuse me, that's going to return next week. There have been some games played, which charter the girls and boys basketball teams lost to Uvalde Charter last week, and I think there were several scrimmages. And we got Coach Berry on. So, Asheebo, if you want, why don't you start off and then Coach Berry jump in because you've got some information and I think also you mentioned that there's a scrimmage coming up today. So, Asheebo, why don't you start and then Coach Berry jump on in.
Yeah, so we'll start with the charter schools. They got started this past week here in Chatham Charter Boys. They got up to a hot start. They won their first 3 games. I'll put it in the basketball roundup. That's winning their first 3 games of the season for the 6th season in a row. So shout out to Coach Messier for continuing some consistency there to start the season. They won over Bethany 70-21. And then in that game, we got Jonah Riggio. He dropped a career high 30 points. I was shooting 86% from the floor. So big game from him. And then they beat NCSSM Durham 37-34. That was a closer game. And then they finished the week with a 69-58 win over Roxborough Community. And in that one, we got Aiden Allred and then Brandon Lavelle. They scored 25 points and 22 points respectively. Allred with 25, Lavelle with 22. Big nights for them. And also in that game, Jonah Riggio recorded a 15-point, 20-rebound double-double. So really outstanding performance from those 3 in that game. And then on the boys' side, too, for Woods Charter, they got to a little bit of a slower start there. They dropped the first 2 seasons of the game. First 2 games of the season last week. Lost to Franklin Academy 53-64, and then they lost to URE Charter 34-66. And then for the girls' side, kind of the same story there. Chatham Charter's girls still undefeated there. Not sure what they did against Research Triangle last night. I have to check with Coach Messier about that. Last week they started the year with a 48-37 win over Bethany. And then in that one, Mia Brooks scored 23. Hannah Hedden scored 20. So big nights from those two. And then they beat NCSSM Durham 47-26. And then Roxborough Community, they won that one 52-42. And then Woods Charter, of course, same opponents. They lost to Franklin Academy 21-51. And then they fell to URA Charter 21-67. So that's just a recap of last week's basketball for the regular season, starting with the charter schools.
Coach Barry, you want to, information, plus you said you've also got some other additional information, as well as the fact that C4 is playing tonight a scrimmage against East Chapel Hill. Why don't you fill us in as to what's going on in the Chatham County High School season?
Sure. Just to add on what Asheebo was talking about, Chatham Charter did play Research Triangle last night. They actually won that game as well, 39-33. That's actually becoming somewhat of a rival. I'm very familiar with all coaches involved, with Coach Messier as well as Coach Linnell Wallace over with the Research Triangle team. So the one thing about Coach Messier, he's continued with his blueprint. He's going to work his guys hard during the summer, during the preseason. And as soon as the season starts, he wants to have as many games as possible, because his philosophy is the more games my guys get, the better prepared they're going to be for conference play. And ultimately, when they get to the state playoffs, they're going to be ready to rock and roll. So hats off to Chatham Charter. I did get a chance to talk specifically to Coach Leonard McNair from Woods Charter. And he had mentioned that his team had faced a little bit of adversity due to multiple injuries. Like 2 or 3 of, I think, his starters got injured. But he said, he's extremely optimistic because that's given other people an opportunity to step up and contribute to the team, not just now, but ultimately long term. And it's going to make the team better. So, hats off to Leonard for keeping those guys, focused and keep their eye on the big prize. As far as updated news, I know this past Friday, I have a couple of things here. This past Friday, C4 was involved in a jamboree. And in that jamboree, it was Southeast Raleigh, it was the Cleveland High School, as well as Apex High. And out of those 3 scrimmage-like games in this jamboree, C4 actually won 2 of the 3. They won. They beat Cleveland High School. They also beat Apex High by an average between 5 and 10 points. The only loss came against Southeast Raleigh. It was a close game, 2-point game. I'm very, very optimistic about this because I know those teams that they played were both 4A, and it was the first time they actually stepped up. The girls also had a jamboree this past Saturday against at Jordan Matthews. And at this jamboree, I know one of the teams they played was Wakefield. They played Garner, and it was another team I can't quite put my finger on. But what I would tell you is this: those girls they look like they're in mid-season form. I think the average margin of victory for all 3 games was upwards of 25 to 30 points. So again, for the first time, for this to be the first time that the girls stepped out, got on the court, played basketball against other bodies except for themselves in practice, this was highly impressive, especially given Coach Bird was platooning his players in 5 in, 5 out, 5 in, 5 out. And he didn't even have some of the top girls all in at the same time in this platoon-like method that he was using. So I'm extremely looking forward to seeing this team play throughout the entire year. I know they have a couple of really interesting test games coming up, particularly against St. Paul and Grace Christian Academy within the next couple of weeks. Now, today, on Wednesday, November the 10th, Seaford actually has a real game or a scrimmage game against East Chapel Hill at Seaford High School. The girls play at 6 p.m. and the boys play at 7:30. I got a little insight. My daughter is actually a part of the Bouncing Bulldogs. I was actually up at East Chapel Hill this past Friday and Saturday, and I saw the maintenance guy because I'm pretty tight with him. And I said, hey, tell me about these Chapel Hill basketball teams. He said, well, I can't really give you a definitive answer, but I will tell you this. I did see the girls, and you know what? They may struggle a little bit, this year because they was having problems fielding the team. but he said he knows the coach is going to keep it positive, going to try to instill in the girls to keep growing and learning and just go out there and do the best they can. I said, well, what about the boys? He said, well, we have a new coach. They haven't played as well. But what I will tell you is this. It looks like their players, as compared to last year, are just as good, if not better than last year. And I think they actually have some reasonably high expectations, starting with the regular season conference championship, the tournament conference championship, and ultimately they want to go to states and go as far as they can. So that game today at Seaforth should be a very, very interesting game. And last but not least, Drake Powell's brother, Deuce Powell, I worked very closely with him with some of the basketball camps that we offer here in Chatham County. And he was telling me that, Northwood is, ready to go. Looks like they're going to be outside the state, I believe in Oregon, at some tournament within the next week or two. So I'm looking forward to hearing how they did with that. I know they had actually have a game or a scrimmage against Apex Friendship. It's going to be today at 5 p.m. at Apex Friendship. That should also be a very good game, because typically Apex Friendship, with their coach, great coach over there as well, he's going to have those boys ready to play, as well as, and I know Coach Brown is going to have Northwood ready to go. So this should be a great preseason game for all parties involved to get them ready for the regular season. So yes, that's my recap when it comes to the Chatham County basketball.
Now, Coach Berry, do you have a maintenance guy at Apex Friendship that you're going to be able to pump for information later on?
I do. I got somebody over there. I'm like you, Gene. I've been, around the basketball scene for so long. I know someone practically at every school that I can touch base with to get information. And I just hadn't reached out to Apex Friendship, but I'm very familiar with that coach. I'm very familiar with some of the players on that team. There's one kid in particular named Drew Mason. I don't know if he's on the varsity, but I know he's over at Apex Friendship. I know he's a player. And all I have to do is make one phone call, and I'm sure I can get all the information I need in terms of their basketball aspirations.
All right, folks. So just remember, you heard that here first. So you need to come back next week when we have next week's ChathamNC Sports Roundup. I also do want to say Coach Berry mentioned that North was going over to the West Coast. They are playing in Portland. I did talk to Coach Brown about that last week, and he mentioned that is supposed to be broadcast online. So once I get some particulars on that, we'll share it. Or if Asheebo or I don't know, Coach Berry may know maintenance guys over in Portland. We will get that information out. But that will be neat to be able to watch them on. I don't think they have any set time for the game. Have you heard anything? I know Coach Brown said they're going to play at least 4 games. So that's going to be interesting. And I think the latest high school OT rankings that they put out, they have the Seaforth girls in the top 10 for the state, and then they have the Northwood boys in the top 10 for the state as well. So you're going to see a lot from those schools. And as Coach Berry and Asheebo mentioned last week during our basketball preview, those are going to be your 2 competitive teams. And when they play each other, I think, Coach, you said December 2nd. Coach is trying to pre-sell all the tickets out before that game, but those games are going to be packed. So
it's going to be a wonderful game, man. It's going to be a wonderful game. It's going to be great for the community. It's going to be great for the kids. They know each other, and the fact that Seaforth have thus far experienced some success, it should bode well for their confidence moving forward. I do want to mention one other thing. It's a kid named Levi Perkins. This is a kid who's been on the team since 9th grade, and he's going into a senior year. And this past summer, he was in some fluke boat accident where he ruined both of his knees. He kind of messed up his ACL, MCL, that type of thing. He ended up having to go get surgery on both knees at the same time in his senior year. I am elated to report this young man has made major strides, almost miraculous, from the standpoint of the surgery, the rehab, the mental toughness, just the commitment right, to get himself back where he needs to be, where he can have an opportunity, to play. And I'm not only happy for this young man that he potentially can play this year, I'm happy because he's adopted this mentality that even when adversity hits, you know what, keep your head up, just put one foot in front of the other and just plow forward and let's see where the chips fall. And this mentality is not just good for basketball, it's good for life. It's a great thing for him to have and it's, just to experience. And I think it's wonderful as a wonderful role model to the other players on the team, as well as the Seaforth community to watch what he has done. So shout out and hats off to Levi Perkins. I am extremely proud of this young man because he's done something that most people wouldn't. They would put their head in the sand. He didn't do it. He focused. He kept it going. And I'm hearing rumblings that maybe by the end of December, early January, he's going to be back fully cleared to play. So bravo. Hats off to Levi Perkins. Super proud of you, kid.
Congratulations to Levi. All right, this is the part, that's our wrap on basketball. This is the part where we talk about the Chatham News and Record. Asheebo's the sports writer for the Chatham News and Record. Oh, by the way, follow Asheebo on Twitter because he's on there. The other thing, too, during basketball season, I shoot videos on it and want to let them know that Coach Barry did this with me last year. We're doing that again this year. He's going to be commentating on those, and those videos will be available on our YouTube channel. So, Asheebo, it's all yours. What's coming up? What articles you've got coming up in the Chatham News and Record, and who's your athlete of the week this week?
Yeah, so probably the biggest biggest story we got this week is just a wrap up on Northwood's football season. It's a story of how they kind of turned around this year, going from 4-6 and not making the playoffs last year, and then turning that around and going 7-4 this year, going to the first round of the playoffs, and how they've ignited their confidence and kind of reignited the program here under Coach Ms. Johnson. So really good in-depth look at that and and Gene, you were right there. We were talking to Coach Johnson and Coach Harrington, and I think about 5 or 6 of the players from the team, and we had a really good conversation about how they did that last offseason and how this season went for them. And then we got like I said, a wrap up on Jordan Matthews' season. Coach Quadros and a couple of players kind of reflect on their season here. That one, they went to the fourth round of the state playoffs. They dominated conference play and only lost one game during the regular season against Seaforth. And since that game, they went on a tear. They outscored conference opponents after that game 46-1. Hats off to Coach Quadros and the Jordan Matthews Jets for once again another great soccer season there. And then also we got the regular basketball roundup recaps of Chatham and Woods Charter basketball last week. Also a nod to the volleyball all-state mentions. Like I said, my apologies for that. Putting the second team there, but I will have that fixed for the online version and have those girls recognized on Twitter as well. And then so athlete of the week. Brings us to Jonah Ridgell from Chatham Charter Basketball. He had a big week. We talked about it earlier. Of course, the career high 30 points on 86% shooting against Bethany. And 3 days later, he had his first career double-double, actually. That was his first one in his career, 15 points and 20 rebounds. So he's really been really big for Chatham Charter early on this season.
All right. Where are you going to be this week and next week?
Yeah, so I won't make it. Unfortunately, I won't be making it to the scrimmage at Seaforth tonight. Heading out to basketball Friday night. I'll be in Siler City. Thinking about doing a doubleheader. I'm thinking about stopping by Chatham Charter to watch their girls team play, and then driving over to Jordan Matthews for their season opener against River Mill at home. I think that one's at 8:00. And then Monday, I'll be back out. I think I will make it to Seaforth Monday night for their season opener for the regular season. So, I'll be out there for the first regular season games. Hopefully some great atmospheres down there in Siler City and Pittsburgh, and looking forward to seeing everybody.
All right. Coach Barry, where are you going to be between now and next Wednesday? Oh, I think you're on mute.
Yeah. I'm definitely going to be at the Seaforth game tonight. I'm definitely going to be at the one on Monday as well. And I'm going to look around. I really want to check out Chatham Central. So I'm going to find out when those boys play, and I really do want to see them because I think that's one of those teams where it's going to be a dark horse. That's somebody you got to keep your eye on. I think they can potentially surprise some people, especially if they have a team similar to what they had last year.
All right. And I don't know where I'm going to be for the rest of the week because I've got some commitments with college games, but next week definitely will get involved. I know I'll probably be taking pictures at some of the games, and we'll be getting that information out. So, gentlemen, thank you very much. Folks, come back and see us next week. Everyone who's been watching, thank you. I also want to let Coach Berry and Asheebo know that even though I just said I was seeing the front screen, I did do a check on the feed, and your faces were popping up. So it seemed to be an error on my end, but when the signal went out, it went fine. So there you go. Asheebo Rojas. Asheebo, Twitter handle again.
Yes, at Asheebo R38. It's capital ASHEEBO and then capital R38. And you can find me. Like I said, I'm at one of my basketball games starting on Friday. Hopefully, you can get some player interviews, coach interviews, of course, some stats updates. So I'll be keeping my own stats. So look out for that.
And Coach Berry, your website?
CoachBerry.com. CoachB as in boy, ERRY.com. CoachBerry.com.
All right. And folks, for the videos during basketball season, just go to youtube.com/Gene Photo. That's GENEFOTO. If Coach Berry is not with me, you'll be getting dry stats during the videos, but if he's there, he's going to give you an in-depth analysis of the game as it's going on. We did this last year, it was very popular, very successful. We're going to do it again this year as well. Gentlemen, thank you very much. We'll see you all next Wednesday. Folks, more basketball next week. It looks like more wrestling, and we'll find out who Asheebo's athlete of the week is, and it might be a basketball player. We don't know. So thank you very much. Let me just log out here, start to log out.